Hi, my name's Keith Cooper from Northlight Images, and in this video I'm looking at vinyl stickers, printing on vinyl stickers. Now, in particular, I'm looking at testing them on the Epson ET-8550, but I'm hoping that some of the observations I've made here in trying to make profiles will be of help to people trying to use print stickers on other printers and wondering why their results are so variable, so unpredictable, and sometimes they don't work. Now, I've said before that I've tried printing on stickers and the ink didn't dry properly and various other things like that. Well, I've got a whole set of different sticker materials here from a UK company called Sticky Ply that sent me some samples here for testing on the 8550, because I say to people, if you've got a media that you'd like testing, I need some samples to do it, and if it's something different that I've not tried before, I am happy to have a go at it. So what I've got are the basic glossy sticker material. I've got a weird holographic sticker material, which I'm hoping you can see in the video some of the sort of sparkly bits on that. Now that profiling that is going to be a job. And I've also got a matte media. Now the matte media is, as you'd expect, smooth matte media. It's very flat, doesn't have a strong color range, but this is typically one that you would use with a clear overlay. Now these are the robustness of them, the glossy ones seem quite reasonable. The ink doesn't rub off, it dries okay. Incidentally, one thing I did find out about vinyl material for printing, if you get old, out-of-date stuff, and typically this is sold off cheap in places like Amazon and the like, the surface oxidizes or alters chemically in some way, and that affects the ability of the ink to stay on it. So it could well be that those samples of media that I've tried in the past and just didn't work, so I gave up on them, that they didn't dry because they were old media. So yeah, that's just something to bear in mind, that where you're getting your media from. Make sure, go to a reputable dealer, and they will supply you new stuff. They won't supply you stuff that that doesn't work and then blame it on your printer or something like that. But anyway, I said the matte one is normally done with a clear transparent film over it. That will intensify the colors and that will give a better response. Now, why am I bothering even trying to do profiles for stuff like this? Well, people do print artwork and things, and they want the colours to be fairly accurate. Now, I've looked before at the difficulties of printing on bright colours for text and things like that, and I'll put a link to a specific video, and it's got a test image you can use for it. But in printing on these, you're using material that is perhaps not ideal for the particular printer. This goes not just for the 8550, 8500, but lots of other printers as well. So people tend to be printing on these using just the basic printer settings, the driver adjustment settings. That is never a good way to get reliable color. I took it as a bit of a challenge. Can I get reliable color on these? Well, first of all, I need to check what media settings to use, because the 8550 has a wide range of media settings. I haven't used the pigment, the VFA pigment black one, even on this, because the adhesion of the black is a little bit poor, and if you printed using the pigment black, trying to get a bit darker black on this, it might not stick. But if you're sort of going to be laminating them, the stickers, to make them more robust, then that's worthwhile anyway. The papers is out. This is the glossy one. Now I've printed a test image here, and this is a media test image. Once again, I'll put links in the notes for anyone wanting to pull these images down, and they're all available on my website under in the printer test images section of the website. Now I printed this out using a whole lot of different settings. Now you print this with no color adjustment, so it effectively tries to shove every single color down through to the printer and see what happens. And initially I thought, well, actually these look quite reasonable. I can see some differences in it. Now, this particular pattern I first used in an article I wrote with the original version of it in 2005. And it goes right back to how to use media settings adjustments here to work out the best media settings. Now, initially you might, in looking at this, you might think, well, great, the premium glossy photo paper setting works really well. And you can see some slight differences. It's only when I tried printing using the letterhead setting, which is a premium plain paper setting, that one really did not work very well. But the photo papers, even the stickers setting, worked okay. And I thought, well, why not just print and do a target at the best looking one, which is probably the premium glossy. And I did that, and I have some test targets here. Now, this one here, this is printed on premium glossy, and you can see it looks quite nice. However, in testing these, I had not quite, I'd let them dry before checking them. And there are no problems showing up on some of these really obvious problems. This just shows non-linearity. However, when I printed this particular image, the amount of ink going onto the paper caused, certainly in some of these very dark greens and around the black, a little bit of pooling of ink and also a little bit of bleed. So if you're printing fine patterns, you might think, well, all right, the premium glossy photo paper, that seems to work. It's glossy photo paper is recommended as a setting for this. I have been talking to them about these various settings and things, so you probably get some more information. But I'll put a link to Sticky Ply's site on the in the notes for this. But suffice to say, when I looked at it, the print quality at this distance, even with my reading glasses on, looks okay because I've let this dry overnight. When I checked it in finer detail, got the loop out and looked at it, I can see that the colours were bleeding. Strong colours next to each other were bleeding slightly. So that seems to be okay, but wasn't. I tried it also on a glossy setting. It was similar, but not so good. And eventually, the best setting in terms for ink match to the media was the photo quality inkjet paper setting. Now, the differences between these are quite subtle, and I don't think you're probably going to notice much. This one probably looks a little bit darker to this one. This one uses the premium glossy photo paper, and that is laying down more ink. Now, one of the problems I have with both Epson and Canon for their printers is that they don't actually give you any useful information with the media settings, telling you what the differences are between the media settings. Presumably that's proprietary. What that means, I don't know, because I'm sure Canon know all they want to know about how their inks and media behave. Epson know all they want to know. How sharing some tidbits of that information, such as the following settings lay down more ink, how useful that, how much of a threat that would be, I don't think it is. It's just a natural inbuilt secrecy that I find. But anyway, suffice to say, premium quality inkjet is the setting to give the best performance. Now, I've produced some profiles, and like all my 8550 profiles, the 8550 profiles for this are available on request. If you want to experiment, I do just request a coffee donation for them, and cover me ink users if nothing else. But they do work. In looking at them on the profiles themselves, in the matte color sync utility, they seem fairly well formed. The gamut, if you print on premium glossy photo paper setting, you get a slightly, and it is slightly, larger gamut, but you run into problems with printing very dark, strong colours in that it may over ink. So what I've done in the profiles I've made, I've produced profiles, one for the premium glossy photo paper setting and one for the photo quality inkjet setting. You'll have to experiment with your images and see which profiles work best. If you're not printing with profiles, then you're down to just experimenting. Incidentally, I got A4 sheets of this. I cut it in half to make A5 test sheets for things like this, for testing ink run and stuff. The papers themselves, the glossy one has no optical brighteners in it. Now I use a particular, this is a UV pen at 365 nanometers, so this is well into the UV. And if I point this, I switch it on, there we go. If I point it at here, we see very little effect here. This is the glossy one. If I do this, however, if I point it to the matte media, you can see it light up like a Christmas tree. Now, I'm presuming this shows up nicely even on the video. You can see that. Take it to the gloss. There's no there. So there are no optical brighteners in this, but there is in this one. Does mean that in daylight you'll get a brighter look to these ones here. But of course, you know, these inks, they're not archival inks, they're stickers. They're not going to last a long while. So essentially I've created profiles, just the one profile for the matte media for experimenting with. But as they say on QVC, wait, there's more. There is this paper here. This is a holographic paper, and I can see in the monitor that this shows. This caused my scanning spectrophotometer, as the ISIS here that I use for making profiles, caused it difficulties with the blue colour. The actual media itself is a grey-blue colour. That really throws off the profiling software. It threw up warnings, all sorts of things. It's a somewhat misshapen looking profile. I'll include it in the set if you want to have a go with it on something. If you want accurate colour and you're printing on holographic paper, I'd love to know why you want. You have to experiment with this stuff. This is ornamental. But I thought we'll see whether what effect the holographic media has on the spectrophotometer. It didn't cause it to go, not doing this. I was able to make a profile, but it's one of the weirdest shaped profiles I've seen in a long while. That's because of that. So there you have it. Range of papers. They're from Sticky Ply, UK company, but they're going to be similar to other ones you can get if you're overseas. Just take care with the media settings that you use, because the media settings, the names of the media settings only apply to specific media made by that. So premium glossy photo paper in reality only applies to premium glossy photo paper. You can use it for any paper you like. You don't have to use them. So, for example, for the matte papers, the premium, the Inkjet paper printed better on this. It's all about how the ink interacts with the media. When I'm testing sort of photo papers and stuff like this to make, sort of big prints and things like that, I don't expect to need to do all this faffing about trying to find different media settings. But for something like this, well, for the first time I have been able to accurately print on sticker papers without the ink rubbing off and with it drying. Just be careful with those media settings. Anyway, hope that was of use. If you've got any questions, please do let me know. And as I say, anyone wants the profiles. Same goes for all the other profiles. I've created over 50 profiles, I think it is now, for the 8550. And they're all available on request. As I say, just ask a donation for them if you find them useful. So thanks again, and bye.